Coming up, a new program to find the next generation of pilots. Will they call it the Goodyear Zeppelin? Fireworks over Oshkosh and bringing fairness back to pilots. AOPA Live this week begins right now. Hello and welcome to AOPA Live this week for August 2nd. I'm Tom Haynes, back in our air-conditioned Frederick studios after a busy week at AirVenture in Oshkosh. And as always, it was an exciting and challenging show to cover. I hope you caught our 4 special shows from AirVenture last week. We tried to show you some of the news and, more importantly, the people that make AirVenture so special. You can find the shows on AOPAlive.org in the latest channel. EAA says that a little more than 500,000 people came through the gates this year. That's down some from last year, but more than 800 vendors displayed at the show, and EAA says that the industry remains vibrant and healthy. And the best news, this was a safe AirVenture, no accidents. And since AirVenture is the world's biggest general aviation event, many people choose to introduce new products and new programs during the show. We're no exception. On Saturday, AOPA announced its new youth program aimed at reaching the next generation of pilots. It's called AOPA Aviators. Paul Harrop has more from Oshkosh.
It looks like a dance party. Kids having fun and taking goofy photos. But there's a mission to this gala, spreading the word about AOPA Aviators. It's a new membership aimed at kids age 13 to 18 that takes the message of aviation to them using social media and interactive tools.
We've really tried to weave all of those things into the program. We are going to have scholarships. We have a really exciting social media platform with a Facebook page.
So far, it's a hit with the teens.
Well, Aviators is actually really cool. It's hip. It has Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. I mean, that's all this generation is about.
But Samantha Arcamuzi is also all about flying.
Well, flying for me is a way to get off the ground and escape reality. I love just being in the air, looking down at all my problems, and just being free up in the air.
Aviator members will get a free digital subscription to Flight Training Magazine, as well as content geared just for them. 13-year-old Nathan Ellis is excited.
Our dad's a member of AOPA, and now that they're branching into kids, I think it's really cool because we're going to be able to do the same thing that he does, and we don't have to wait till we're older. We can do it right now.
And his dad can get excited too.
Best of all, it's free, so absolutely no charge. So I think that's the best part about it.
And that's something that everyone can dance about. Paul Harrop, AOPA Live.
Not a lot of those kind of parties at Oshkosh. And yes, besides Twitter and Tumblr and Facebook, AOPA Aviators has a web page too. It's aopa.org/AV, the number 8, RS. And it's a good place for us old fogies to start too. Check it out. Share it with the kids you know who might be interested in aviation. AOPA's goal is to grow the pilot population, and we need the kids to do that. Face it, we're not getting any younger. And remember, AOPA Aviators is absolutely free to kids aged 13 to 18, and it includes a free subscription to the digital edition of AOPA Flight Training Magazine. But it's not all parties at Oshkosh. Just about all the industry movers and shakers are there, and that means your AOPA staff can cram a lot of work on your behalf into just 1 week.
It's very important that our members understand that their advocacy team works every day for them. We're in Washington, D.C., and all the other FAA offices and all the other federal offices on a very regular basis. What an event like AirVenture does is allows us to consolidate our efforts, sometimes work with some of the other organizations, some of our other industry partners in a very, very focused time frame. The FAA leadership team was at AirVenture for about 2 days. And it was pretty much their entire leadership team that oversees general aviation. So while we meet with those folks individually throughout the year, and we carry our message to those, it presents us with a great opportunity for all of them to hear the same message at the same time. And that includes the acting administrator and his staff all the way down. So we had meetings, worked a number of issues. I'll give you a couple of examples. We did everything from member educational efforts, which included our continued work on our medical exemption for the third-class driver's license. We held a number of forums. Our booth staff did a tremendous job of educating members. We had some direct meetings on what continues to be a important issue for our members, which is avgas. We did do some forums outbriefing on our UAT ARC report, but we also had the opportunity to meet with the FAA administrator and his leadership team talking about how to actually implement those recommendations. So we had the CEOs and association heads of the big organizations there, and we got to talk about that in a lot of detail. So it was a good direct one-on-one with the entire leadership team on what that's going to look like.
And we talked with folks from several different countries who want to form AOPAs of their own. As you may know, all of the AOPAs of the world are members of the International Council of Aircraft Owner and Pilot Associations, headquartered here in Frederick. IAOPA is the official representative of general aviation in international bodies like the International Civil Aviation Organization. And you can see more of the interview with Rob on AOPAlive.org. AOPA staff at Oshkosh were working hard to get members' opinions on the AOPA EAA medical petition. Some 98% of the 4,000 people surveyed in the tent support the effort to allow pilots to fly simple fixed-gear aircraft without a third-class medical.
What this does as an equivalent level of safety is encourage you to use your driver's license as a baseline of medical fitness, but then also to engage in a medical education program. That online education program that would be developed by EAA and AOPA and offered through AOPA's Air Safety Institute would in fact be an opportunity for you to learn the aeromedical factors you need to consider each time before you get into an airplane. Very, very important. We self-certify before we fly, each and every time we fly. This is really bolstering that and giving you the knowledge to be able to self-assess better and understand when in fact you're on a medication or you have a condition that in fact might give you pause and should give you pause not to get in the airplane that day.
Thousands of people added their comments on the proposal using the computer terminals in the AOPA tent. And if you haven't commented yet, there's still time to do it. You can find out how and more information on the proposal at aopa.org/advocacy/medical-certification-petition. When AOPA Live this week continues, new protection for your rights as a pilot. And will they still call it the blimp?
It's been called the most sophisticated single-engine airplane ever, but to the people whose loved ones are alive today, it's called a lifesaver. The Cirrus Airframe Parachute System, only from Cirrus Aircraft.
Welcome back to AOPA Live this week. I'm Tom Haynes. There's a new name and a new website for one important AOPA offering. AOPA Insurance Services now brings our members more expanded coverage options than ever. In addition to traditional light aircraft and non-owned aircraft coverage, AOPA now is able to help with any type of general aviation insurance. That coverage can range from flying clubs to flight schools to airports, not to mention our established group life and AD&D insurance plans. You can find out more about AOPA Insurance Services right now at insurance.aopa.org. Well, the Pilot's Bill of Rights is now on President Obama's desk, and political insiders predict he'll sign it since it passed Congress unanimously. Senator James Inhofe of Oklahoma championed the bill, while Representative Sam Graves of Missouri helped move it through the House. AOPA attorney Kathy Yotis helped draft some of the technical language in the bill.
The heart of the bill is fairness. You know, we all want to respect the FAA. We all expect to be able to respect the FAA. They're out there to help things go safely and smoothly for us. And that's the way it should be. And for a while now, that was getting eroded because of the injustices that were being allowed within the system. So when Senator Inhofe had his experiences and experiences those injustices firsthand, he came with an energy that said, what is going on with this system and what can we do about it? Because this isn't right.
The bill makes things right by giving pilots an avenue of appeal to federal court, and it directs the FAA to fix and simplify the NOTAM process. You can see the complete presentation on the Pilot's Bill of Rights at Oshkosh on aopalive.org. Well, the government, including the FAA, won't shut down September 30th, but there still could be cuts to vital FAA programs. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid and Speaker of the House John Boehner have worked out a deal to keep the government funded at existing levels through March of next year. It's called a continuing resolution. But that won't stop sequestration, an automatic procedure that Congress has adopted to try to force itself to rein in the budget deficit. If Congress doesn't act on the budget, sequestration will make arbitrary cuts in federal programs that would force the FAA to lay off air traffic controllers and close contract towers. AOPA President Craig Fuller says the budget problems could lead to a renewed push for user fees. Sequestration would also delay building the next-gen air traffic control system, causing yet another headache for acting FAA boss Michael Huerta. Huerta did get a bit closer to removing acting from his title this week as the Senate Commerce Committee sent his nomination to the full Senate. But one senator has already said he wants a full debate on approving Huerta as FAA administrator, so Michael Huerta will likely continue as acting administrator for the near future. When I say Goodyear, tire and rubber company probably isn't the first thing that pops to mind. After decades of circling sporting events and air shows, the Goodyear blimp has achieved an iconic status that few other aircraft can match. So when the company recently announced that the venerable fleet of blimps is about to give way to a new generation of Zeppelin airships, we wondered if Goodyear Zeppelin would have the same ring to it. Well, Jim Moore took a ride on the blimp, whose days are numbered, and got us an answer.
Construction of a new generation of Goodyear airship will begin soon in Akron, Ohio. Goodyear working with the Zeppelin company that is itself the descendant of a German airship icon.
We expect the first one to be test flying towards the end of the 2013 and in full flight by February of 2014, somewhere around there. Yeah.
But still the Goodyear blimp, not
I love the name. That name's not coming out of my head.
The Goodyear blimp has for generations circled slowly above major events including EAA AirVenture, where these images were filmed, the Super Bowl, and the Olympic Games. The blimp has established itself firmly in the public consciousness, but the blimp relies heavily on steam gauges and a few modern electronics. It poses unique challenges for pilots. Assistant Chief Pilot Michael Doherty is one of the first to be trained in the new generation airship, which will come with many improvements. The new Zeppelin will be larger, but only one difference will be obvious from the outside.
The engines are up high on the sides of the envelope. They're up about 30 feet, so we won't have to shut them down like we do now, and they're fully vectoring, 0 to 120 degrees, so it takes off and lands like a helicopter. With a rear engine right on the back of the tail that runs 2 rotors, and one of them is just like a side rotor on a helicopter. And the other one is 0 to 90 degrees vectorable, so you vector it down 90, and then you have a lateral tail rotor, and that whole function of the engine is all transferred to your side stick when you get below 30 knots and you vector that engine down.
The blimp is controlled with a wheel that moves elevators up and down, rudder pedals that yaw the ship slowly, and a collection of blowers and vents that inflate or deflate balloons within the balloon called ballonets and keep the center of buoyancy in trim. There's a lot going on in the cockpit as it appears to drift effortlessly overhead. The new Zeppelins will have side-stick fly-by-wire controls, not to mention creature comforts. Flights often last for hours.
So far we're just happy that it's going to have a restroom and it's a lot quieter, a lot less vibration.
Pilots have requested television and internet as well. We'll see how that goes. From the ground, it will still be quite blimpish, even if it's not really a blimp.
It will look very much like the Goodyear blimp of today.
There's really no better way to see Oshkosh, low and slow with big windows that offer a panoramic perspective. This airship is an advertisement of Goodyear's prowess at building with rubber, an envelope that loses very little helium, about 300 cubic feet per day, much less than other airships, Doherty said. All of those airplanes below need tires, and Goodyear wants pilots to think of them when it comes time for a new set. While traditions like this carefully orchestrated landing requiring assistance from a dozen crewmen on the ground as Doherty pitches steeply and dives the airship back to Earth will soon be a thing of the past, Goodyear has no intention of giving way to purists who might insist that with a semi-rigid structure instead of a big bag full of gas, a Zeppelin is not a blimp. That won't fly with Ed Ogden.
I've been calling it the Goodyear blimp for 35 years, and I don't intend to change. It's an endearing term where we like it, the public likes it. We have no desire to make that change.
Over Oshkosh, this is Jim Moore, AOPA Live.
Well, I've flown them both, and I got to tell you, it's the difference between a barge and a sports car. The Zeppelin is that much more maneuverable than the blimps, but we'll sure miss seeing those blimps around. When we come back, we continue our African aerial safari and lighting up the skies over Oshkosh.
Flight following didn't call out an opposing plane. I saw it on the screen. He turned right and the other plane just pretty much flew right on by. It's your life. You only get one shot at this.
Welcome back. You're watching AOPA Live this week. Well, over the past 2 months, we've taken you along on my African flying safari. Here's one last look at the trip of a lifetime. Welcome to Africa, land of contrasts. Here we are outside of Johannesburg in a really posh neighborhood with great theaters, an incredible casino that would rival anything that Las Vegas could offer, with faux fountains, fake inside street scenes, great neighborhood here with restaurants and really wonderful capabilities and accoutrements. And just 24 hours ago, we were out in the bush. We were chasing animals off of a dirt strip so we could take off on our Cessna 182 to wrap up our safari.
Zulu Sierra India Whiskey Papa.
That dirt strip was at Shindi in Botswana's Okavango River Delta, the remotest destination in our week-long flying safari. The Okavango River dwindles out into a broad delta of channels and canals, but never reaches the sea. While other parts of Botswana are in the desert, the delta is green and lush. Although remote, the Shindi camp is comfortable and inviting, with the entire staff turning out to welcome guests. The lodges are canvas buildings overlooking the delta region. Rooms include private bathrooms and the requisite mosquito netting, which we sure didn't need. Bugs just were not a problem. Beautiful teak wood abounds on the porches and the public spaces, all of it open air. The lodge, the food, the supplies, the guests, none of it would be here were it not for the runway, says lodge manager Folly Vorster.
All our guests come in by air. There is no accessibility by road. If you think the road transfer from Mount to Shindi would take at least 10 hours on a good day if nobody gets stuck. By air, 35 minutes from Mount to Shindi, so it is highly important. Without a runway, I don't think any of the remote camps of the Delta would be able to exist.
Remote Shindi generates its own electricity and even purifies its own water from the Delta. All of the food is brought in, nearly all of it by air.
Your freight, your food, anything you need for the camp's management and running of the camp comes by runway, comes by air.
Even with all those hurdles to overcome, the camp does a marvelous job of creating unique experiences for guests. The Delta's many narrow channels can be explored by pulled dugout-style canoes. These peaceful rides provide plenty of chances to explore nature close up, including a sea of water lilies and reeds that slip silently by the boat. The larger channels are welcoming to powerboats. We speed through the channels, seeking a glimpse at exotic birds and hunting the recalcitrant hippos. Another lodge boat motors by, having no more luck than we did with the hippos. Finally, we pull into a cove to watch the sunset over the water. As the glow turns from orange to red, we notice movement in the water, and sure enough, there's a big hippo watching us from a few hundred feet away. He's far enough away, and it's dark enough that we can hardly make him out or get good video of him. But a few minutes later, as we start to leave, giving the dangerous behemoth a wide berth, we instead realize we're closer than we thought to two more hippos. The large male eyes us warily, and at his own pace, wanders off to the reeds. Back on land, we continue our exploration, finding plenty of browsers hanging out together. The giraffes and zebras paid little heed to us in our Toyota Land Cruiser. While the zebras look rather elegant in their stripes, I confess the strange-looking Tessabes confuse me. With his humped shoulder, skinny legs, and narrow face, he looks as if he were designed by committee. The Tessabé is a member of the horse family, but somehow related to the antelope and is said to be the fastest of the antelope. We noticed the wildebeest and Tessabes acting nervous and soon discovered why. They knew this hungry guy was nearby. Beautiful Shindi made for an impressive capstone to our week-long flying safari. With no squawks whatsoever, our trusty Skylanes carried us back to Johannesburg, ending some 16 hours of flying and 1,600 miles of adventure. It's been an amazing week as we have examined the contrast throughout Africa. Here, people are ushered around in expensive vehicles like BMWs and Porsches, and of course prissy Land Rovers. We're out in the bush. It's the Cessna 182, the 206 with a cargo pod, and also the Toyota Land Cruiser, which is a vehicle of choice for getting around out on safari. Amazing contrast. Here it's beautiful in green, lots of water, and yet parts of southern Africa that we were in Botswana, for example, very dry, desert, and yet teeming with animals of all sorts. Elephants, giraffe, hyena, lions, cheetahs, leopards, all sorts of critters that just everywhere you look, it's just an amazing visual experience. Africa, definitely a land of contrasts and an amazing place to explore, and for us, all made possible by General Aviation.
It was an amazing trip, certainly the trip of a lifetime and a great use of General Aviation airplanes. And now finally, let's return one more time to AirVenture and a look at the night air show through the lens of AOPA Live video journalist Jim Moore. I'm Tom Haynes. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next Thursday on AOPA Live This Week.